So I think that's one of the big issues that we face. That's part of the mental health crisis in general right now. It's like we're disconnected from nature, we're disconnected from our true nature, and we've all been told that the feminine aspects of our being, which everyone has, are shameful and wrong and not to be experienced.
That sounds so beautiful, and I feel like it's something that a lot of men crave but don't know how to ask for.
Yeah.
So to hear
They all want it secretly. They all do.
Mia, welcome to Heartbreak Hotel.
Thank you so much. So happy to be in bed with you.
I know. Isn't it so fun?
It's nice.
It's my favorite set ever. Just to give a little introduction for people who don't know you, this is Mia Magik. She is a author and the founder and headmistress of what you described as the real life Hogwarts.
That's true.
Can you tell me about it?
Yeah, it's basically I teach online and in person and support people in actualizing and accessing their own true power and magic. I think that we talk about junk DNA and our brains only using 10% of their capacity. And I think that a lot of the pieces and parts of ourselves that we don't use have just been forgotten. And so I like to support people in remembering them. And that looks like a lot of different things, but it's really beautiful. We actually just got back from a week in the Redwoods up in Northern California, in the real life Hogwarts, in the forest, the enchanted woodlands. And it's just so powerful. My work is primarily about healing and transformation. And so when we get the things that are in the way out of the way, there's just so much more possibility available to us.
How did you find yourself on that path?
I really just needed it myself. Mm-hmm. I was living a very disconnected, disassociated, numb, very, very depressed and anxious life, and I wanted to feel different. And I finally realized so many of these things that have happened to me in childhood, or the way that I was bullied, or what other people thought about how I do things, or what I'm interested in, was wrong or bad. There was something wrong with me. There was something wrong with what I liked. I was a loser. And I just didn't want to feel like that. I wanted to feel like it was okay to be who I am. And so I started studying spirituality and got really deep onto my own path. And it allowed me to finally, once I had worked through some of these wounds, which we'll talk about more later, but once I had really worked through the parts of myself that were living the narrative that society tells us, that if you are a little bit different or if you're not normal, then you should be ashamed of yourself. And I didn't want to feel like that. I was like, well, to me, the way that the normal world looks is actually what is my kind of nightmare. And I would be ashamed of myself to be playing so small and not being true to who I am. And so I really started looking at, why do I believe this? Why do I think there's something wrong with me? What if I believe that there was something right with me and that this is actually a path forward into a new way of living and a new way of being, and a way that will serve and support not only my happiness, but potentially the happiness and the well-being of others as well. And so once I had done enough work on myself, people started asking me to help them, and I did, and it just snowballed, and one thing led to another, and now it's a really powerful, beautiful, goddess-based femme empire,
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's something that a lot of people can relate to, especially with social media and being on your phones all the time. It's very easy to disassociate and feel depressed and lost. And I love that you're helping people and teaching them. I understand that your book is a good start to explaining to people how to get on a path of finding yourself and becoming more present. How would you describe it? What can people learn from the book?
So the book, Witchual, is all about how we can use the greatest power that we have. No matter how much of your brain you're using, you have attention and intention. So your attention is where you're placing your focus, and your intention is how you want to use your focus, how you want to use your energy, how you want to use your mind, or where you are in a current moment. And so this book is all about working through the things that tell you that there's something wrong with you. And how do we do that? What does that look like? Shadow work, the slaying the dragon chapter. Then there's all of the ways that we've been hurt as children and how that informs our behavior as adults. And so that's the chapter called Singing for My 7-year-old Self, which it was about me losing my voice when I was really young and being told that I was screeching. And so I stopped singing and I stopped being able to feel like what I had to say was valuable or important. And so this book is all about so many different ways that we can just change the focus of our attention and maybe elevate our intention rather than, oh, I just got to get ready for work. It's like, oh, I want to feel powerful for work today, or I want to feel creative, or I want to feel inspired. Okay, that's my intention. So if that's what I was going for or with today, how would I dress? How would I speak to myself in the mirror? How would I drive to work? As opposed to, oh God, everything sucks. I hate my job. I hate my life. Those are two very different intentions. And when we learn how powerful and how impactful both of those forms of our energy are, we can change just about anything in our life. And so that's really what this book is an exploration of.
I love that. And what I really love about this book is I feel like a lot of people look at spirituality as a huge undertaking to really understand it. And this book seems to explain how the small steps you can take in your everyday life, things that you're already doing, and how to make minor adjustments.
Yep.
To change your whole perspective.
That's right.
Life.
Yeah, it's the tiny things. Magic is not, and spirituality is not about what you do when you're away from your life. It's what you do when you're in your life and how you live it. And that's really where the magic happens.
I love it. You're talking a lot about magic and spirituality. Would you say that you identify as a witch?
I do indeed. Yeah. Yes. You can't really write a book called Witch Will not identify as a witch, but the word means wise, and ual, the suffix, is a process. So it's like the process of our wisdom. And the difference between knowledge and wisdom is that knowledge is conceptual, so we can know something, but our wisdom is embodied. It's the things that we know, the things that we've learned through our life experience, and then how our behavior is transformed by that knowledge. And when we are acting in alignment with all of the things that we've learned, right? It's like with boys. Yeah. When you see the same red flag over and over again, you're not embodying what you've learned and you're not changing your behavior. But when you notice the red flag in the one before and then you see it again in the next one and you make a different decision and say, actually, been there, done that. I'm not going down that road again. I'm going to change my behavior and I'm going to notice this now and understand that this is not the best way forward for me. And I'm going to take a different path. Then you're living in your wisdom. And so that's really what being a witch to me is all about, is just acting in accordance with what you've learned. And I'm an earth witch, and I have learned that tending to my true nature, especially through a relationship with nature, is one of the greatest, simplest, easiest, and most affordable ways we can create magic in our lives.
That is so beautiful. I love the way you put that. You say you're an earth witch.
I am indeed.
How did you come to understand that?
I actually come from the oldest and largest living beings on Earth, the redwood forest. It's one of the oldest, it is like really the oldest primordial forest on our planet remaining. And it's where I grew up. And I'm different than, there are earth witches who are herbologists and make lots of potions or tinctures or use herbs as medicine in that way. And I don't know that type of magic. I just know what I've learned from sitting really quietly with forests and mountains and rivers. And they, to me, are the greatest teachers. They don't have ego. They don't have the same limitations or mental restrictions that we do. Like if we get hurt by someone, then maybe that hurt is really informing the way that we're communicating for a couple of months or a couple of years or the rest of our lives. And they're just not like that. Nature is so free.
And have you found that you're able to release yourself from that pattern by learning from nature?
For sure. I have released so many patterns by learning from nature. Yeah, because nature works symbiotically. We're not supposed to compete. We're supposed to work together. We're supposed to grow and rise with one another. And especially the redwoods, people say or think that the tallest trees have the deepest roots, but that's actually incorrect. The tallest trees in the world have the widest roots, and they interweave and they create this mat, this web, this rug of root right beneath the surface of the earth, and they hold each other up. They lift one another up, and they rise so high to the sky because they are all holding themselves and each other firmly planted on the earth. And so that has certainly been my experience of spiritual community and having people on the path with me. And it looks different for everyone. A lot of my friends don't even identify as witches, but we're on the spiritual path together, and having that kind of support where rising tides lift all ships, and we're in collaboration with one another, especially as women, rather than competition or comparison, it makes a massive difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. And the symbolism of the trees holding each other up and it coming from that world. I absolutely love it.
It's so good.
Oh, it's so cute. So speaking of boys, speaking of cute stories,
yes.
You've been telling me a little bit about your lover. Can you tell me how you met? How's it going? You've been together a few months now.
Couple of months. Oh my goddess, it's been the most healing and transformative experience I've ever had with a man in my entire life.
Love it.
It's been so good. Yeah, I was really of the mind. I got out of a 5-year relationship about a year ago, and I really was like, I just want to meet my partner. I want to be ready to have kids and a family and do all the things. And I had a psychic at the beginning of the year tell me that I was going to meet him in Europe in June.
Okay.
And when that didn't happen, I realized, okay, well, clearly there's something in the way. Right. I'm not ready yet. And I had a really beautiful experience with a man there. Nothing happened, but I just got to see some of those old patterns, some of those stories that were still running in my mind, some of the ways I was behaving that actually felt more like a girl rather than a woman. Right. And so when I got home, I just said some prayers. I live on the lake. I was sitting with the lake, and I just said, okay, rather than keep praying or keep hoping for my man and my mate, my soulmate, my partner, my prayer now is whatever is in the way, whatever I am doing, whatever stories, whatever beliefs are in the way of me being able to have that kind of partnership that I desire, just help me heal them, help me get them out of the way. And within a couple of days, I had already met this man, but he was at my house for something totally unrelated. And then we went to a party together, and he actually propositioned me to start engaging in a totally different way than I had ever engaged with a person. And he's like 6'4", huge, looks like an Abercrombie model, just like world champion in jiu-jitsu, just such a vibe, very quiet, very peaceful, very like solid and grounded. We're about as opposite as two people could be. And he said, I feel like you could hold my feminine side. And I've been really looking for someone who could let me be held and let me be in my receptivity. And as such a giant man, it's really hard to find that. And I think women, we also really expect men to be a certain way. We expect them always to be, the provider and the protector and the caretaker, and to be, a lot of times men don't feel comfortable to be in their emotions, or to cry, or to even be weak, or to fall apart, or to not figure something out. And he was like, I've just never met a woman with bigger dick energy than I have. And I think you could be someone who could help me with this thing that I've been looking for. And I kind of thought he was crazy at first, but then I considered it, and we ended up on an accidental romantic vacation together because we were going to a wedding in Bali, right. A destination wedding with a bunch of our friends. So like all of our favorite people. It was just so epic. And we'd only seen each other the day before I left, and I went swimming with whales. I went to Tonga and Fiji and Samoa and New Zealand, and I just had this epic summer adventure for 2 weeks, and then met up in Bali. And the conversation reopened, and I was like, I don't want to be with someone who's sleeping with a bunch of other people. He was like, great, we can be exclusive. And I was like, cool. And I know he's open, and if I looked like him, I would certainly be taking advantage of it, And he was just immediately a yes to my needs. And in the last 3 months since that happened, he has shown me how lovable the parts of myself that I thought weren't lovable are. He has shown me how good I am at loving someone when I feel safe. Because when a woman doesn't feel safe, she's going to rage. She's going to be angry. She's going to be frustrated. She's going to complain. She's going to feel confused. She's not going to know how to get what she wants. And this man keeps me so safe, and not just physically safe. I've always had men who could keep me physically safe, but he keeps me mentally and emotionally and spiritually safe. If anything comes up that I'm hurting or that I feel confused by, I can call him or be with him or talk with him in any moment, and we work through whatever comes up immediately. Like maybe a few hours will go by if someone, if the timeline isn't correct, but it's been the kind of relationship that I wish all people could have, where we shift and switch and change kind of the like who's on top energy, who's holding the masculine pole, who's holding the feminine pole. And we're playing with that sexually in a really deep way that I've never experienced before. That's been so powerful for me to get to be both, and to get to have parts of myself that other men have shamed or been pretended to be disgusted by, even though they actually want it. And, and yeah, I've just gotten to be the wholeness of myself and gotten to see how good I am at caring for and being in partnership when I feel safe to be all of who I am. And also not having the pressure, like it never felt like, oh, this is going to be my partner forever. This is going to be my person. There was never a part of me that was like, oh, we're going to get married. I want him to be the father of my babies. And so there's this complete lack of pressure of just, it's safe to fall all the way in love for this time and this moment, because we're being given a really precious gift by getting to love each other. And we're teaching each other totally different things because we're such unique people. And so we're both just getting absolutely precious gems out of being together. And it's been, I've had more growth in the last 3 months with him than in my entire 5-year relationship, because I can bring absolutely anything. It can be met. There's nothing that's too much. There's nothing that's too scary. Everything is welcome. And in that kind of relationship, all of the wounds, all of the shadows, all of the inner child hurt and the stories can be rewritten and remedied. And it has certainly been that. It's been like a balm to the suffering of my soul and like any of the heartbreak that remained, thinking that there was something wrong with me.
That is so beautiful, and I'm so happy for you. It sounds very healing and wonderful.
Yeah.
My first question, I have several follow-up questions. Yeah. If somebody wanted to experiment with being in both their masculine and feminine energy in a relationship, you said this is your first time, where would you recommend someone start with that?
So it just depends on what you want to experience. So it can be like one of my students just was talking about being able to create safe space for her husband to feel his emotions. Yeah. So sometimes with the Viking, I will just hold space and talk to him about some of the horrible things that have happened to him. And if he cries, I will hold him. And when he lets me hold him, it's so beautiful and so precious. And sometimes he just needs to be heard and listened to. And sometimes it's a sexual dynamic where like I'm in charge and I'm the dominant and he's the submissive, and he listens to me, or he's penetrated and I'm not. And there's a lot of really beautiful ways that you can ride those waves. And I think, men also think that being penetrated, there's something wrong with that, or it's gay or whatever. And why would you have a pleasure center in there if there was something wrong with it, if it wasn't meant to be a place where you were designed divinely to experience pleasure and orgasm? And so I think that the beginning is seeing where, like one of the things that I did with him first was I asked him, if you could connect to your feminine side, what would she want or like when you look at a woman receiving something, or when you're making love to a woman and you see her having an experience, what do you want? And for him, it was like that kind of wild, unleashed animal, and also he was like, I want to be laid in a meadow and painted with flowers. And I was like, aww, great, I can do that. Yeah. And so the first time we did this, I laid him down with flowers all around him. I got willow branches from the meadows, and like made a little meadow for him and then painted him with flowers. And it was so beautiful. And then I started asking questions about that feminine side, or him being in this receptive state, and what does he need? And I ended up just holding him, and it was so beautiful. And he cried in my arms, and I got to like tend to some wounds that he'd been carrying for his whole life. So it doesn't have to move into the sexual space. A lot of men really don't want to feel themselves being in the feminine in that space. But even there's a lot you can play with. Even if the feminine partner is still being the one penetrated, you can pretend and be like, okay, your cock is my cock, and I'm actually the one making love to you. And even just the energy shift in that, how then like your body as the woman, even though you're still being penetrated, your body moves differently. And then, you know, you can let them again be held or ask for what they want. And it's a really wide spectrum of what's possible, but it makes for an incredibly beautiful and dynamic connection when it doesn't just have to be one person holding the energetic pull. It can get exhausting, especially now. Like, man, the amount of compassion I have for the masculine, I tell you what, it takes a lot. There's a lot of moving pieces to work on, and it takes a lot, and you can get lost in just the novelty and the power of it. And so being able to be really present and being able to sit with someone in their emotions or in their needs, that's really the first step.
That sounds so beautiful, and I feel like it's something that a lot of men crave but don't know how to ask for.
Yeah.
So to hear
they all want it secretly. They all do.
But he's the one who approached you.
Yep.
And asked for it.
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful.
Yeah. We did a practice. We were in a moment where I was actually scolding him for some behavior it related to another woman. And I was like, you can't do that. Like, you need to tap into your feminine side and like feel the goddess inside of you. You need to feel your womb, feel your pussy. Like, how would you want your, and I just went into this whole thing, but then I led him into a tantric experience of rooting into his body and feeling the feminine inside of himself. And he just went for it. He's shaking and groaning and moaning and moving. And I had also only been in relationships where men didn't want my magic and didn't want my power and didn't want me to lead and didn't want me to guide them. I mean, I only really had one from like the time of being deeply in my power and successful in my business and all of that. But yeah, he didn't want it from me. And so that immediately opened me. I was like, wow, this man is receiving me. And so from the first sort of real interaction, we'd had a couple of very small interactions before that, but the first real interaction we had, he received me and he wasn't afraid of my power. He actually wanted it and was grateful for it. And that was what opened me to the possibility and to being willing to even engage with someone that wasn't my partner or my mate. And it turned out he was my answered prayer.
I love it. The fact that you asked the universe for exactly that and it delivered within a couple of days.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty good. She does that, you know? That's why I
feel that way too. Do you think that you are there energy blocks that prevent you from getting the things that you ask the universe for sometimes? And how do you clear those?
For sure. Yeah, that's really it's our belief systems.
Right.
So if we had, like, my dad is not a reliable person. He shows up late. He cheated on my mom. Like, there's so many different ways. He'll forget things. He's absent-minded. So even if he says he will do something, maybe he'll forget, and it's not his intention to hurt me. But that lack of dependability can then play into how I feel about the masculine and attract those same kinds of men, because that's what's familiar, that's what's comfortable, that's what I'm used to, into our lives. And we all have that, whether your dad was around or not. And however the masculine showed up in your childhood, you're going to have some beliefs or some patterns about men showing up in that same way. And so what you can do is really look at what is yours. So for me, this like, oh, men aren't dependable. That's mine. That has nothing to do with him. That's on me.
Yeah.
So how can I express to him the ways that I need him to be dependable and then show up and be more dependable for myself? And that's the biggest thing that I think we miss, and especially women and in the personal development world, we want other people to do these things for us. But if you want someone to be dependable, if you want someone to be loyal, if you want someone to be faithful, then you have to be those things. And not from scarcity, not being loyal because you think that that's the only way to be loved, but being loyal because you're actually in devotion to that person or what you admire about them. And so for me, and that's why I wrote this book the way that I did, is because the best way to change our relational patterns or these negative beliefs that we have is by changing the way that we behave in relationship to them. So if you're finding yourself dating men because you feel unworthy, rather than being like, oh, I don't need to go out on a date tonight. This is one of my sisters was really going through this. Every night she had a different guy or a different plan because she didn't want to be alone. It's like, okay, well, what am I afraid of being alone? What do I not want to see? What do I not want to look at? What do I not want to feel?
So you really start with confronting the reason why you're in the patterns that you're in.
Completely.
Okay.
And that's we were talking about love spells.
Yeah.
And that's really the essence of it, is how do you fall in love with yourself? It's not the same as, people say, oh, you have to love yourself before you can be loved by someone else. That's actually not entirely true. The way that I am being loved by this man right now is helping me love the parts of myself that I didn't think I could love. And so another person's love and care actually can shift the way that we feel about ourselves, but we do have to have a certain standard.
Right.
And we have to know our boundaries.
Okay.
So that was how it happened for me with him, right? If I had said, okay, yeah, sure, let's explore this thing, but it's okay for you to be fucking other people and like whatever, because I wanted to be with him bad enough to abandon myself and sacrifice my needs, then this situation would not be happening the way that it is. So I said what I needed. I was happy. I told him, I was like, if you don't want to do that, it's all good. Let's stay friends. Like, I don't need you.
Right.
Turns out I was wrong, but I don't need to be in this if it's not going to be right for me. And I said that, and he was a yes. And so then we're in agreement with one another. So you don't have to be totally, oh, you love yourself, but you have to love yourself enough to set your standards and know what are non-negotiables for you, and then actually be willing to walk away and not stay when someone does something that harms you or, disregards or disrespects or dismisses your needs. And that's really challenging. And that's the stuff that comes from our childhood, whether it's people-pleasing behavior of, oh, okay, whatever you need, whatever you want, that's fine. No problem. Like, let's take care of you first. That is not an authentic reason for giving. If you want to give, if you're inspired to give and you give, great. But if you're giving only so that you won't lose love, you're more likely to actually lose that love because your giving is not an authentic endeavor.
So when we're talking about love spells, what are some steps that you can take every day? Some small things that you can change in your life to attract the kind of love that you're looking for?
The first one is how you talk to yourself.
Okay.
Because so many of us are just, the moment we look in the mirror, it's picking at our skin or at our belly or our breasts or our muffin top or whatever it is. So the first one is the kind of conversation that you're having with yourself on a daily basis. And you got to watch those thoughts because it's insidious.
Yes.
And so even now, recently, just over the last week, whenever I would get worried or even, you don't get a text back or whatever it is, I'm just like, I'm good. All is well. I'm wonderful. Everything is fine. You can amp it up if you're feeling really like disappointed internally with yourself. Oh God, I knew I shouldn't have done that. I'm such an idiot. Like, oh, that was so stupid. Right. If you're having that kind of conversation with yourself, it's really powerful to just shift into actually, and however is true. I was expressing myself. I was sharing my heart. I was being vulnerable. I was being honest. If he can't receive that, if this person doesn't want my honesty or doesn't want my truth, then good. That's actually better for me to know so that I can get out rather than keep diving into a place that's not in alignment for me.
Absolutely.
So the first part of the love spell is how you're communicating with yourself. And the second part is how you're treating yourself. So even with like that same thing, getting ready in the morning, if you're putting on your skincare or your makeup to try and cover yourself up, to try and make yourself feel like you're enough, rather than I'm enhancing my beauty. I feel amazing. I'm so excited. I'm going to rub this skin oil into my face because it just is so healthy. I'm giving my body the nourishment and the nutrients that it needs. Every single thing that we do. Same with getting dressed. Oh, fucking these jeans, none of this fits me. Like, oh, I'm so fat. Like, oh, I hate this. If that's how you're communicating to yourself, you're not creating a field of love. And so gratitude and kindness, and that's not to say that you don't want to accept or be careful full of care and kind to the parts of yourself that don't feel that. The best way, really, when you notice that thing, that mean voice or that part of you, okay, wait a second. Why do I feel like I'm being stupid? Why do I think that I look fat? Where's the first time that I thought this? What is the memory? Whose voice am I hearing? Most of the time it's a parent or a teacher or a bully from young childhood whose voice we're hearing. You can take this as deep as you want. If you want to go back into that memory and talk to your inner child and say, hey, this person, this bully, they're hurting. The only reason people bully others is because they're hurting. Someone's harming them at home, or they feel insecure, and they are just trying to alleviate some of their own pain, some of their own burden. So you can go into that scene and talk to that little child and tell them, hey, this bully, they actually, what they're saying is not true. You do not have to believe this. And what do you want to believe instead? Actually, you're really special and you're really important and you're so beautiful. And there are going to be people in your life when you get older who are going to love you so much and who are going to see you, and I see you. And you start with that. Now that's quantum healing, right? That you can rewrite the timeline of that story from your childhood just by going in a properly attuned state in your mind. Different brainwave states will help. You can use binaural beats, deep breath work, like really just profound presence. And that's advanced, right?
Yeah.
But if you can simply give yourself, even in that moment, okay, wait, I hear you. You're upset. You're nervous, right? You're anxious. You're late and you're worried you're going to get in trouble. Mm-hmm. What do you need right now? How can I give you what you need to feel safe? Okay, well, everybody's late sometimes. And you're not going to get punished. It might be a little bit awkward, but that's okay. You're okay. Everything's safe. And one of my dear students is like doing this for herself on TikTok and going super viral right now, which is just so true. And it's just re-parenting yourself. Right. Because if your parents didn't teach you how to properly love yourself, you're not going to know. Mm-hmm. And that's really the first part of the love spell, because when we start to have, everyone has an inner child, everyone. Yes. So when your inner child feels safe and playful and is having fun and loves itself and loves what it's interested in, then great. You are going to magnetize and empower other people to love their inner children.
Absolutely.
And that's really the part that, in terms of a love spell, you are transforming your attractiveness, and not just physical attraction, but literally drawing people in. Because if people can feel that you don't feel safe, they're not going to feel safe with you.
That's so true. When you feel uncomfortable, you're going to make the people around you uncomfortable. And what I'm loving about listening to this is you're not having people change their patterns necessarily. You're still doing the same actions. You're just changing the intent in which you do them with. Yeah. It's truly such small changes. And then you're obviously talking about going deeper and the deeper conversations that you can have, but that's not somewhere that you have to start. No, it can be super simple and it can be really gentle. Yes. And you also don't want, this is what I was going to say about the kindness. Right. When you look at a child, if you see, and I certainly, this in my former relationship, if I had been able to see the times when I was angry or the times when I was frustrated, if I'd been able to see the 4 or 5-year-old version of my ex-partner in front of me instead of the man, like whatever's happening, I'm talking to a little child. Yeah. I'm talking to a wounded little boy, and yet I'm yelling at him like he's a man. Mm-hmm. But inside, that's who I'm yelling at. And we wouldn't do that. Right. Like, we know that that's harmful. That's why we don't like yelling at kids. We like to give them patient, understanding, compassionate responses. And so that is the most important thing. Not when you hear that little, oh, you stupid asshole, you look fat, you're dumb. He's like, okay, oh, hey, oh, hi. Hi, little tiny villain inside of me. Oh, hey. Oh, I know you're hurting right now. I'm sorry you're hurting. I'm sorry that you feel like your body's not good enough, that people told you that it wasn't, or that you don't, there's something wrong with your style and the way you like to dress. I'm so sorry. You're welcome here. You actually are safe here. You still belong here. I want to feel good about myself today. I want to love my body today. So I'm going to start with that. And I'm just going to feel grateful for my body. And I'm just going to touch my body and say, thank you. All the steps that my legs have taken me, all the places I've gone throughout the world, all the bites of food that my tummy has digested for me. I'm going to be appreciative of my body, and you're still welcome here. This little part that's being mean or frustrated, because shaming that part and making it wrong is what is going to just exacerbate the problem, and you'll never get out of it with that method. Absolutely. I feel like we're talking about making yourself more attractive and loving yourself and how that draws people into you.
Yeah.
Are you able to read people's energy and know whether or not there's someone who's going to help you on that journey or someone who's going to take away from it? How can you discern who might be right for you at that point in your life?
Yeah. I think so. Everybody learns differently. Mm-hmm. There's people who are auditory learners, and it might be in specific words that they say.
Okay.
Where they use a couple of these words and you're like, that's this synchronicity, that's this perfect thing, that I know that matches up for me. Some people are more visual. Maybe it's just about how they look into your eyes. Like, oh, wow, this person's actually really present with me. I can see that they're here for me. Maybe you see the energy. Maybe you see the color and you're like, this looks a little sketchy for me. Or, oh, wow, this actually feels good. Yeah. And then some of us are kinesthetic learners and we can all sort of sense our energy. Do you feel better after hanging out with this person or do you feel worse?
Yes.
Do you feel drained or do you feel full? Do you feel excited? Do you feel inspired?
That's
or do you feel like...
That's an important question to ask yourself, especially when you're dating in that world. What do you see when you're meeting new people?
You know, I don't have a ton of like new people in my life. I'm pretty well established with my people, but for me, it's definitely more of a feeling. And especially with, and I'm sure, you know, you have a big social media following with, when you have even some semblance of people knowing who you are, I can feel when someone wants something from me. Right. So I've started to be able to notice and recognize, like, people will introduce themselves to me and ask me what my name is. And I'm like, I know you already know my name. You know, I can tell. Like, I know you know who I am. I saw that flicker of recognition in your eyes when you saw me. It's like, even if it's just a little of excitement of like, you know, oh, that's Mia Magik. Right. I can see that. That happens quickly, right? Okay. And so for me, it's really about reciprocity. Mm-hmm. If I can feel that someone wants something from me, I'm pretty much like not interested. If I feel like they're neutral, I'm open. Because I'm like, cool, I know how much I have to give and I love to give. I'm such a generous person. I always have been. I love to spend money on my friends. I love to heal my friends. I love to play with my friends. I love to go on an adventure with my friends, you know. So that was certainly my experience with this lover, was that he doesn't have some of the like typical things that I would think I need from a man in order to be what I need. But none of that mattered with the level of what I actually need being given to me. Doesn't matter if I make more money than him. Matters 0%. I would not trade someone like being able to buy me a house for the emotional presence that I'm receiving. Mm-hmm. And so I do believe that I can have it all. And that is like a belief that I've been working on. Like, I can have it all. I don't have to settle. I don't have to choose between one or the other. I can have everything that I need. And I think that if you can feel that someone isn't going to teach you, like, that was an experience that I had. Like, I didn't learn from my partner. I learned from our relationship, but I didn't learn from him. And I'm a teacher. Mm-hmm. So like, he learned a lot from me. And now in this dynamic, I am learning so much and I'm being given gifts. He like records these long, like somatic audios for me so that I can learn even more about my body and like relax the parts of myself that have tension. And it's just so powerful to learn from someone. And so I think that that's really an important aspect for women, especially because men are going to receive naturally from women our energy, the way that we are just like innate and natural muses. Like, we are portals to the divine. Our wombs are literally connected to an infinite source and wellspring of creative life force energy. Mm-hmm. Like, that blood that we shed every month is literally what will make a human being. That is the liquid life force creation. And so men are naturally, women are multipliers. We're going to multiply whatever we're given. Mm-hmm. And so if as a woman, we can see, oh, actually there's like really something here for me, not just the like white picket fence and he's got a good job and the stuff on paper, but, oh, this is someone I admire. This is someone who really inspires me. And I feel like there's something for me, not just like, oh, this is the foundation or this is something that any woman could receive or that any woman would be grateful for, but there's something here for me. There's some way that I'm going to grow and I'm going to learn in this container. And if that's not there, like, do not waste your time. Do not open your body. Do not let someone that is not going to be generative in your life or in your world into it. If you love your life and you love what you're doing and you love how you're spending your time, there is no reason to add someone to that equation who's actually subtracting. Let them only be an amplifier for your existence as well.
Just going off of that, I wanted to quickly ask you about how you learn to trust yourself and your intuition when it comes to people. And you're talking about energy and just a feeling that you get. And I feel like people's biggest obstacle in picking the right partner or picking the right friends is not trusting their intuition and trusting how they feel after they hang out with someone, or just that snap judgment that they make. So how did you learn to trust your own judgment with that?
So it's similar to that seeing, hearing, feeling. How is your intuition communicating to you?
Right.
So if you just get this like snap thing, this little hit, like, oh, I should not do this. This is not a good idea. Or like, oh, and you find yourself making excuses for it. That's going to prove to your intuition, I don't trust you.
So you're listening to yourself and
you're listening to yourself. Yeah, but you can feel there's a difference between the voice of fear or the voice of that inner pain. Oh, you idiot. Like, I knew this was going to happen. I told you. Like, that mean, punitive voice, your intuition doesn't talk to you like that.
Right.
But it will be a sort of neutral, go left, try this. This is not the one. Don't do that. And I think that also, again, it goes back to how do you feel around that person?
Yes.
And our bodies really communicate with us. So when I first got with my former partner, I was getting insane UTIs.
This is a very common thing.
Yeah. I got a yeast infection for the first time. I'd never had one in my entire life. Right. I got that. I got all these weird rashes. I was like getting these, like my body was breaking out in hives.
Yeah.
And I just ignored every single sign.
This is the partner you were with for 5 years?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. I ignored every single sign. And look, there were parts of our relationship that were so beautiful and there were things that were so valuable. And I love him, bless him. And I'm so, so grateful for him. And I ignored my intuition. I ignored I like to call it intuition. That's my first book. I like that. And it's all about understanding how to trust ourselves and how to learn to read these signs. But that's the thing, is the body is going to make signs for you.
Yes.
The body is going to have responses. So if you have sex with someone and you don't feel good the next day, or you immediately feel drained, or your body, there's pain even associated with it. And a lot of us, like even in marriages, was working with so many of these beautiful women at my retreat, there can even be pain in a marriage that you think is really right for you. That is still your body communicating something. Do I need it slower? Do I need it deeper? Do I need to work on opening my portal and my temple before I open it to another person? What is the communication?
Can I ask quickly how you start that conversation with yourself?
Yeah, it can be so simple. Even just before you get out of bed in the morning, instead of reaching for your phone, just greet your body. Place a hand on your leg or your heart or your womb, your belly, and just, hi, good morning. Is there anything you need? And just starting to listen. And your body may be so numb. You may have been taking tons of pharmaceuticals. You may eat lots of processed food, and it doesn't have an easy way to communicate with you yet. Keep practicing. Keep chipping away. Maybe there's a wall, you've built up this wall and you need to chip away at that wall in order to be able to let its voice come through. But start practicing it in the small moments, like I have a feeling I should turn left here.
Yes.
Start practicing it in the very, very small little whispers that you're like, this doesn't make any sense. I was just thinking about one. This is in my first book, this story. I walked into a friend's house and I heard the shower running. She had roommates, so I didn't say anything. I was like, whatever. Who cares? Someone's in the shower. And we sat down by the fire and had a beautiful evening. And 45 minutes later, she goes, oh my God, the tub. And she had left her bathtub running because she has a big bathtub. And she was like, oh, maybe we'll take a bath together. Yeah. And it overflowed. and went down into her living room, and cost her almost $20,000 to redo the floor and the lights and the ceiling and the whole thing. And if I had just said, who's taking a shower? Or like anything, when I noticed that I could hear the water running and I was gonna say something about it and I didn't. And like, I could have saved her 20 grand.
Right. So just listening to yourself in those moments and practicing doing something or saying something out loud.
Exactly. Just trying. And even just saying it or asking your intuition, hey, is that a message for me? Like, do you need, and then practice. Okay. Do I want a muscle test? Do I want to use a pendulum? Do I want to just try it and see what happens? And sometimes I will just listen and like turn left and nothing happens. And I'm like, okay, but maybe that was saving me from an accident at this corner. Or maybe just the exact time of me shifting and going left is going to get me there on, at the right moment for me. Like the other day I was at the airport and I was talking to this friend on the phone about this house I was going to rent. And I was like, I'm going to go to Ibiza and I'm going to rent this house and whatever. And I'm talking to this guy and he's like, oh, that's so weird. I lived in that house 6 months ago. I'm like, oh, cool. And then I went to the bathroom and I'm at the airport and I left my water bottle in the bathroom and I went back in to get my water bottle. And as I walked out, the guy whose house I was talking about renting in Ibiza walks past me in the airport in Bali. And I was just like, oh my God. And so if I hadn't gone back for my water bottle, which I thought in exactly that moment, I was like, oh wait, I left it there. I wouldn't have had that moment.
30 seconds later.
Exactly. So it's just really, you never know what the reason is. And it might just be for you to kind of build the synchronicity and follow the path. And that made me think like, okay, I have to get this house. I'm moving to Ibiza. It's happening. This is so great. And then Ibiza went through these floods. And I was like, well, there's no fresh water there. I'm not going to do that. So I'm not actually even following through now a couple of months later with that sign that I thought I got that told me you have to move to Ibiza and this is the house and this is going to be the most perfect thing. And this is why, because look at all these synchronicities. How could you deny this? And nothing has even come of that. The whole plan changed, but I'm still listening and I'm still letting myself be guided. And that trust that you can create with your intuition, which I do believe is part of the universal language. I think it's something bigger than us.
Yes.
That is what then allows you to trust yourself. If you can trust this bigger thing that's filtered through you, then it becomes part of you. And then everything you do, you're guided by that intuition and you get to know that you are trustable. And then when you know you're trustable, your choices are different. Your choices with men, your choices with food, your choices with dating, your choices with how you spend your time, all of it changes.
When you talk about this bigger thing that funnels through you, do you try to communicate with it or do you just let it guide you?
Both.
Okay.
I refer to it as the goddess, not because I want to take away from the masculine, but we have Mother Nature and Father God. And so we've taken mother out of the divine. When you really look at it, like if we're created in the image and likeness of God, then God is a woman because women birth life into existence. And so the church, the Christian church and the monotheistic Abrahamic religions changed the face of God, who was originally female. When you go back, God was a woman. We returned to the earth. But just like in real life, she has a counterpart. So there was God and goddess, and that was the divine. It was this partnership. And when the Abrahamic religions took over, they changed goddess, mother God, into father God, and changed father God into the devil. And that's why the devil looks like the masculine form of the animals that helped us survive for thousands of years. We don't need to kill cows and sheep and goats for them to create warmth and food for us. And the masculine cows, sheep, and goats have horns and hooves. Most of them do anyways, but that's why Satan looks like that, because it was a vilification of the pagan deities, which were the masculine, like horned gods, antlered gods, the father. And we've taken the father out of nature. So I think that when we really connect with this higher thing or this bigger thing, to me, it is all. It's not some dude in the sky. It's the glance between every eye of another person that you look at. It's every breath in your lungs. You look at nature, right? Like earth is my body. The bones in me are like the stones in the mountains. Then the breath in my lungs is like the wind within me. Then I have saliva in my mouth and blood in my veins, and that's the water within me. And then there's electricity and energy making my heart beat in every single moment. We are nature. Yes. We are the elements. And to me, that is God. Right. That there is this infinite intelligence linking us to the universe and vice versa. And so I refer to it as the goddess, just as a reclamation of calling her a feminine divine.
Yes.
Which doesn't take away from the masculine, obviously. You know, I love my inner daddy, you know? And I find that speaking to her and giving her permission to speak through me and move through me has been one of the most healing practices of my life. I feel like there's an unconditionally loving mother that we've all forgotten in the divine there to listen to me. And don't get me wrong, she's like a good mom. She can be disciplinary sometimes, but she's not shaming and vindictive and spiteful and hateful the way that we've made God, yes. the religious God. I don't believe that God is like that. And I think that that is also a reason why we're all having so much trouble listening to ourselves, is because if we think that that which created us hates us or hates what we do to make more of us, which is just absurd. Like, why would God make sex the way that we continue if it was so evil and bad? Like, it's ridiculous. Why would the clitoris have 8,000 nerve endings that are literally just for enjoyment? I doubt it, you know? So to me, having a dialogue and having communication with a greater force and source of consciousness and aliveness that feels like that nature within me is really helpful and really healing. And so I let it speak to me and through me. One of my favorite practices that's free on my website is a channeled writing. And it's a meditation beforehand, but then I call upon X, I call upon God, I call upon Goddess, I call upon Mother Nature, I call upon the dragons, whatever it is. I call upon my higher self. Please write to me, through me, anything I'm meant to receive in this moment. And then you get a letter from your intuition or from the goddess or from the universe. And it's so powerful. And if you follow that guidance, your life will change. And you'll notice, for me, like sometimes my handwriting will change, or like I'll start, yeah, but you're not doing this right. And I'm like, oh, wait a second, we're not channeling anymore. That's my shit. That's me being unkind to myself. Like, let's take a deep breath. And either I'll do the invocation again, or I'll just wait until I can hear, instead of that little me, I'm like, oh wait, I can hear that peaceful voice coming in again. I can hear that peaceful voice coming in again. And I can listen to that and let that be what guides me.
Do you think that men have the same access to the goddess that women do?
Yes, it's just harder because they've been so shamed for having it. All of us, everyone is yin and yang.
Yeah.
Everyone has masculine and feminine. Yes. We all operate on a spectrum. That's why gender is so varied in its ways, even from like really masculine macho men, right? Like my lover is so masculine and like could literally kill anyone that tried him. Maybe there's like a couple guys on earth that are better than him at what he does, you know, but so masculine. Yeah. And yet has this beautiful, sacred, feminine side. So even that is unusual, right? To be able to have a balance like that, but we all do. And I think that the reason why it's harder for men is because why the feminine is in trouble is because all the feminine aspects of our being have been shamed. Our creativity. Oh, you want to be an artist? Oh, you want to be an actor? Oh, you pansy, whatever it is, like, and then we worship rock stars and movie stars, worship them. But if you're a kid who wants to play in the band or be an actor and theater nerd, like, you're such a loser. So that alone is so ridiculous. Inventions, so creativity, sexuality, like primary feminine ways of being, and emotions. Our emotions, our feelings. That's our feminine way. And men have not been taught that they are allowed to have any feeling other than like contentment or like celebrate, like really big, like accomplished celebration, right, or anger. Mm-hmm. That's what they're allowed to have. And women are not allowed to have anger. We're allowed to have like complacent, just contentment, or maybe a little bit of sadness, but not too much. And so the feminine aspects of existence have been shamed and made wrong and shut down. So
for men and women.
Exactly. For all of us. And so it's hard enough for women, but it's even harder for men because we do have these innate emotions. Yes, we'll suppress them. That's why I lead rage rituals, is because we need to get out our rage. But I think for men, they've also been taught that if they do that, they're not men. If they have emotions, if they like creative things, if they like to draw or paint or sculpt or literally or dance. You know, men, you look at birds, you look at nature, the way that nature, the birds like put on their whole mating dance, and they're just like, look at me, I am so fancy, look at my nice feathers, and look at the movements that I can do, like I will impress you, and I will put on a show for you, and like, it's all for you, honey, like please choose me, you know? And now like, men don't even dance.
They don't dance.
And you look at old movies like the Fred Astaires and stuff, and they're like putting on their shiny shoes and their tuxedos, and they're like being so radiant in their dance. And even that is like not masculine anymore.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the big issues that we face. That's part of the mental health crisis in general right now. It's like we're disconnected from nature. We're disconnected from our true nature. And we've all been told that the feminine aspects of our being, which everyone are shameful and wrong and not to be experienced.
First of all, a couple of follow-up questions. The rage rituals that you lead had a viral moment. Were you expecting that?
No. No, not at all.
How did you respond to that?
I mean, it was great. I think that it was, I didn't get tagged in any of the like bigger viral experiences. So I didn't get any personal, like none of the hate came to me, none of the bullshit, none of the like Karen summer camp thing. I saw a few of those things, but I know what the truth of that ritual is. I know how important it is. I know how much men and women and children and everyone needs to be able to experience their emotions. So I didn't get like any of the negative stuff. I just got a bunch of press, which for me was fine. And it gave me the platform to talk about it and explain it in a way that helped people understand. And obviously anyone who's calling someone feeling a Karen, like, you're the Karen, you know, you need the rage ritual. So it was great for me.
Okay. I love that. That sounds so positive.
Yeah.
And then coming back to mental health, are there any other contributors that you see that people can work on in order to fix their own mental health, the way that you were saying you got into spirituality because you wanted to feel less depressed? Where can people start with that?
So really easy, free, so accessible is nature.
Yes.
Outside of every major city, within like 20 or 30 minutes on Earth, everywhere I've been to all 7 continents. I've never not found nature outside of the city. You just have to get out of the city and go to the nature. So powerful. There are so many studies that prove that just being in nature, just being in an area near trees can help regulate your stress hormones, lower your cortisol and your adrenaline, help to regulate your heartbeat, lower your blood pressure, positively impact and enhance your immune system. And then a couple of hours, that's exponential. And then a couple of days, like you go on a camping trip and you can literally reset some of your neural networks and your entire processing in your body. So nature is first and foremost so easy, so simple. Don't take your phone. Leave your phone on airplane mode. Leave it in the car, whatever it is. And just go out and listen. Sit beneath a tree or by a river or a creek. That is the freest, most powerful thing you can do for yourself.
How often would you recommend someone?
As often as possible. You know, once a week isn't enough. We all used to live in nature. We used to live on the earth in trees. I realized when I was living on like the 30th floor of an apartment building in New York City, I was like, this is not natural. We're meant to live on the ground. And so that's one thing, is just like being in nature. The other thing is the kind of people that you're surrounding yourself with. Okay. What are you doing? How are you spending your time? If you're sitting around on your phones together, if you're drinking a lot, if you're using drugs in an effort to escape, right? Like there are intentional ways we can use substances. Oh, I want to deal with my mother wounds, or I want to feel really deeply connected to my partner, or I want to, you know, see what it feels like to just sing and use my voice. Like you can use psilocybin, MDMA, ketamine, LSD, like you can use those substances intentionally. Yes. But if you're using them to try to escape your life or to try and get something that you can't feel, that you don't know how to access, like that, again, it's the intention, then you're going to probably not have the kind of experience that you really would like to have. And so if you're spending time with people whose lives are not very intentional and, you know, they're not really bringing a lot to you, that's going to make you feel bad. Misery loves company, but so does joy. And so that's a big one. Also, like sex, having casual sex with someone, you are tying your body in with their karma. If you don't know them, like it's no judgment. If it's really for you, you're like, I just want to experience pleasure. I want to feel my body. I want to be in my sexual energy. Great. If that's true. If you're coming from a wound that's like, I need to be loved. I need to be desired. I need affection in order to feel worthy. That's not going to work very well. And so many of us are doing that. We're also spending so much time on our phones. It's insane. It's insane. And so even just like putting your phone down and not spending those first 20 minutes of your day on the phone or your last 20 minutes before you go to sleep on your phone, doing a yoga practice, going outside, journaling, listening to a meditation. There's so many things we can do instead. And for me, it's really about like noticing what your particular habits and patterns are, right? Because we all have different trauma. We all have different wounds. And so there will be different things that will help us most. But the one thing that has been scientifically proven is that nature will help absolutely anyone, no matter what your wounds are.
I love it. This is such a beautiful conversation. And I really appreciate you coming on and helping so many people with things that everyone struggles with. Your energy and all of your advice is so beautiful and wonderful.
Thank you.
I want to talk about your book quickly. That just came out yesterday.
Of course.
Again, congratulations.
Yes, thank you so much.
What inspired you to write that one?
So this book was really what inspired me is just that my first book was about the conversation with the universe.
Okay.
So it's called Intuition. It's about how we learn to listen to that voice, but then that also the things that the universe, the way that our body uses like the UTI or the rash to communicate, the universe is using sign and symbol and number and color and animal crossing our path. It doesn't speak English or Spanish or Hindi. It speaks in elements and in symbols. And so that book had a lot of lists and a lot of different ways we could like learn about this symbolic language in the universe. And then I was like, okay, but what about making it practical? How do we implement all of that into the way that we live our lives? And that's how this book was born. So you can read them both independently, or they are really wonderful complements to each other. And this book is about practicality. How do I live my life in a more conscious way without having to change that much? I still have to go to the grocery store. I still have to eat food. I still have to get dressed. I still have to make money. So how can I, with my attention and my intention and with a little more awareness, right? So if I don't know that I have this pattern of letting undependable men or unreliable men into my life because my dad was unreliable, then that's going to be an unconscious program. That's going to be an unconscious pattern that's running. It's like the software, right? The software is out of date. So if I figure that out and then I say, oh, I want to update my software and I'm going to do that by X, Y, and Z or A, B, and C, you're running a different program after that. And that's really what this book is all about, is how can we just update the software, update the program. We've lost the plot as a species. We have no rites of passage anymore. You know, you think graduating from high school is something that marks your adulthood, and you go from being totally dependent in your parents' house to then having to function and like do all of your laundry and run all your errands and do all your chores. And you're like, whoa, I've literally never done any of this. And that's why a lot of mental health issues start right that first year of college, because the transition is so stark that people don't know what to do with it. And so this is just a really beautiful invitation to reclaim some of the rituals that our species has had since the beginning of time that we've only just lost in the last 100 or 200 years. And how do we just live in this world in a more magical way? Because when we're intentional with what we do, everything becomes magical, and you don't actually have to do anything else. You just do what you're already doing differently.
That is so beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm so excited about this book.
Yeah, thank you, me too.
Oh, and you also mentioned some exercises on your website. Where can people find that?
Yes, so everything, all my name, website, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all of it is Mia Magik, MIAMAGIK. So magic with a K, no C. And everything miamagik.com, YouTube, Instagram, but on my website there is a free channeled writing practice and also a free rage ritual meditation. So if you want to do a rage ritual at home by yourself, you just want to hit your pillows and go crazy and you need to get some angst out and scream, that's also available for everyone on my website.
Yes, perfect. So if you're looking for that, it'll be in the description of the video, as well as Mia's socials and everything. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I really loved this conversation and loved having you. And it meant so much to me. I'm sure it'll mean so much to everybody watching. So sharing that with everyone just means so much. Thank you guys for checking in, and we'll see you next week.